I want to talk about fear real quick because how many of us find ourselves, getting frustrated? We get um, overwhelmed by the situations that we in. And not only do we get overwhelmed and get frustrated, sometimes we'll find ourselves like faulting or blaming God because the situation has not changed, or the situation isn't getting better, or the situation is still um, at the same place where you began at. It's almost like it's become a desert, and so we get frustrated because we've been praying, we've been fasting, we've been meditating, we've been doing all these things, and there's still no change. And I, I know for myself that I've been there, like many of us have been in that place, and in that situation where it's like we don't fast it, we don't meditate it, we don't we, um, we don't did our affirmations, and the list goes on to what seems to be no avail. And one of the biggest things is that the fact that we'll fault or we'll blame God. And the reality of the situation is that at its core, the foundation is fear. And not only is it fear, because now we fail to understand that if we look at the situation in its totality, it's just that we've been called to do something, and we've been called to move, and yet we've allowed fear to hinder us. We allow fear. We've allowed those very same things that those people have convinced us that, you know, you're not able, or you're not capable, or um, our self worth is next to depleted, and so the frustration is really self induced, almost in a sense, because our steps have already been guided, and we've already received the answer to what it is that we do next, and yet we've allowed ourselves to stay stagnated. Or the reality is that we've become comfortable, and the reality is that we have allowed fear to just take over and keep us in a place of comfortability, and, because we doubt that things will be different. We doubt, or we allow that doubt, we allow that fear. We've allowed all of those paradigms, somebody else's paradigm, to hinder us and paralyze us. And so we stay in that situation, and we stay comfortable. We stay with what is familiar. And so one of the things that I can speak to is the fact that has helped me is that we have to look at, and we have to dissect not only how we view ourselves, but look at and dissect the power of God Himself. And so this is a faith-based ministry, and so I'm going to speak to that fear because that frustration and the irritation and all of those things is really just uh, or should be a warning sign that we have to dove really deep on what keeps you there. But not only what keeps you there, is that what benefits. Ask yourself, what benefits do you gain by removing yourself from that situation? So if I'm in a situation where I'm being down, um, where I've been abused, and abuse doesn't necessarily have to, let's look at that definition too, because abuse doesn't necessarily mean a physical abuse. Even mental abuse. If you're in a situation where someone is degrading you, where someone is putting you down, where someone is tearing down and not adding to your your confidence and your self esteem and your self worth. And how many people stay in a situation not only because of comfortability, it's because we've allowed the enemy to tear us down, that we've lost touch though. The reality is that we've lost touch of ourselves, and so we no longer realize or understand the power that we have, the power that we possess. And so we've allowed someone else's fear and so someone else's words to have that much power over our lives that it keeps us miserable. We stay in a place where we're unhappy, we're miserable, and yet we turn it inside out. And so because they say that, then there must be some truth to it. Because they say that, then I'm going to allow those words to have power over me and over my mind, and the fact that now I can place myself into abundance because their words must be truth. But the reality is that no one has that amount of power over you. The reality is that you have power, you have control over your life today. The reality is that you're more than a conqueror. And the power and the answers that you need to move beyond that point resides within you. And so how many times have we looked at other people to validate our worth? How many times have we looked at, whether it be friends, whether it be family members, whether it be who we rely on, their words instead of our own, instead of us living and knowing what our true worth and our true purpose is, but it's more comfortable to give that power over to someone else, regardless of the fact that we're not getting, or we're no longer receiving what it is that we need, that they are no longer giving us what we need to survive, what we need to flourish, what we need to continue to grow and develop. And that's what life is about. That's what life comes down to. Is that you have to ask yourself, am I growing or am I just existing? God sent his son so that not only will we have life, but we'll have life abundantly. And so as we ask those questions and ask ourselves those questions, is that it's the life that I'm living still serving me? Is it challenging you? Is it speaking life, or is it speaking death? And so I'm gonna make a series of this. This is one of fear and anger. And so with that being said, is that you have to look within yourself. What is bringing you? What is driving you to stay in that desert? That's what I'm gonna name it. Stepping out of the desert. What keeps you in that place? What keeps you anchored? What are you telling yourself? How do you view yourself? And do you truly believe not only in the power of God himself, but do you truly believe, are you able to see yourself beyond that place? That's what you got to ask yourself. Are you able to visually, are you able to see yourself beyond that point? And what does it look like? What is that place that you hope for, that you've dreamed of, that you feel that it give you what it is that you need? What does that look like? I challenge you to ask yourself that. You don't have to answer. I'm not asking you to put it down in the cup. But what does that look like? Do you know what that looks like?